Well, hello everyone. It's Sybil Starr. I'm here to give the 2021 astrology forecast. I'm calling this 2021 a bold new vision. It is certainly time for a bold new vision. The world around us is collapsing, and we know that. It is a challenging time that has great potential for growth and awakening, but hard choices as well as great opportunities. I can't really talk about 2021 unless I talk just a little bit about 2020, because it is like the basis for the launching pad that is 2021. Rick Tarnas, many of you may know him. He was an astrologer and teacher at the California Institute of Integral Studies. He said that 2020 was when we were going through the eye of the needle. That the shift was coming. We were moving into higher dimensions. And of course, there are many prophecies, indigenous and otherwise, saying that in these times, Mother Earth herself is moving into higher dimensions and that we are going with her. The question is not if, it is just how difficult or easy will this transition be. And at the same time, in astrology, we are moving into the age of Aquarius. It is another of the indicators that we're moving into higher dimensions. And the thing is, when we move into higher dimensions, everything that does not align with the new vibration falls away, and the light is pouring in, and what has been hidden is being exposed. There is a revolution in consciousness, and it is about us consciously creating a new world together. So I want to talk just a little bit about 2020, which sets the stage because we're actually living in paradox. Two things are happening at the same time. On one hand, things are collapsing. The old paradigm is collapsing. And on the other hand, out of the chaos and the collapse of the old, there is an opportunity to create something completely new and different. And that is, of course, where I want to focus my energy. But it is important to acknowledge what has been happening. So last year in 2020, we had three planets, major planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, in one sign, Capricorn, traveling together off and on through most of the year. And Capricorn is an energy that brings very challenging teachings around personal authority, maturity, responsibility, but it also rules the structures or bones of our society, all of our governmental institutions, healthcare, the healthcare establishment, financial institutions, corporations, the media, the corporate part of the media. I'm not going to say the journalists so much, but the structure of the media, which is corporately owned for the most part. So, and Saturn in Capricorn, Saturn rules Capricorn. And like I said, Saturn also brings some of the same teachings around maturity, but it also brings in restriction, limitation, and fear and separation. Saturn is really one of our major teachers because it is the part of us that makes us feel like we are separate from source and separate from each other. And the teaching is to gain our own personal authority and then come back together. Pluto is the god of death and rebirth. And when Pluto comes in, whatever sign he's traveling in, and Pluto is remaining in Capricorn for 2.5 more years. So this teaching has been going on and it will still be going on for a while. And Pluto is the god of death and rebirth. And in Capricorn, it is about the death and rebirth of the structures of our civilization. And it shows us, Pluto is the healer. He shows us where the wounds are, and what needs to be healed. And it's like a wound that has been festering and coming to the surface to be healed. But so it shows us the decay of a collapsing paradigm, where what is stagnant, what no longer has life force, and what needs to go. And so I do want to bring in the virus, because that, of course, is a big part of the teaching that is going on. Um, and so I just want to share just a little bit. I have been a nurse for 40 years and just assumed that I knew what a virus was because, I was taught it, we've worked with it. But with the introduction of the electron microscope, there have been new awarenesses have come to light, the scientific understandings of what a virus actually is. And of course, there is, some say it's settled science. There's really no such thing as good science that is settled science, because this virus is still teaching us. And so I want to share just a little bit from a doctor that I have been following a bit. His name is Dr. Zach Bush. He is a young doctor who is an internist, an endocrinologist, a hospice doctor, and a permaculture farmer. And he works intimately with the soil and with the gut. And in the gut, of course, is where our immune system is basically located in our bodies. And I want to share two things that he's had to say. One is that it has recently been discovered that our bodies have more microorganisms than they do human cells, such as viruses, bacteria, fungi. The whole list of microorganisms goes on and on and on. And when a virus starts kind of aggregating, clustering, and acting up, he says what it is actually doing is that it is bringing on a detoxification process that is part of an upgrade for our immune system. And of course, Pluto times, many of the indigenous people have been saying these are the purification times. Well, a virus is part of a purification process because it detoxifies. And so on one hand, it really is about our bodies. But I just started thinking about what if this is, an energetic process. As we, if we look, or if we acknowledge that everything is divine and that this is God too, that what is the teaching of the virus? And I feel like it goes in alignment with this new vibration. Everything that does not align with the new vibration, this virus is showing us so that it can fall away. We are being shown the deep corruption in all of our governmental, political, healthcare, corporate banking, and media institutions, as well as, as many others, of how corrupted they have become. And of course, it takes courage to look at that and to recognize that as true. And, some even say that nature has been weaponized with this virus, and that, this virus is, it is nature. It is part of nature, but it has been messed with in a lab. Is this true? I'm certainly holding it as a possibility, because this lab was in Wuhan. I don't want to go deep into the rabbit hole, so I'm not going to go there, but I do want to just throw that out as a possibility, because it's not that unbelievable that it could be happening. Okay. The teachings of Pluto are actually very much about self-empowerment. As I said, Saturn is about personal authority. And so I think so much of the corruption that we're seeing in our government is recognizing the lies that we have been told, and to recognize that truth actually aligns with love and fear aligns with lies, and to have the courage to really look. In the past 9 months, there has been a great transfer of wealth to the billionaire class, 27% increase average, while the people are losing so much economically and the middle class is being obliterated. I just don't believe this was an accident. And I do want to point out too that Pluto, all of these planets have been transiting in the second house of the chart of the United States, which is the chart of money, the chart of the economy. And Pluto is actually coming into 1 degree of its natal return in 2021. In 2022, it becomes exact. Pluto in the chart of the United States is at 27 degrees of Capricorn in the second house, the house of the economy. So we're going to be having a Pluto return as a nation in 2022 in the house of the economy. And, I've never been through a Pluto return. It takes a long time. I'm not sure how long, but it's it takes quite a while. Well, like I said, since the beginning of the United States, over 200 years since it takes for a Pluto return to happen. And so, we can see the evidence that the economy is absolutely changing. And and then Pluto comes into Aquarius in 2023 for 3 months. And then fully in 2024, Pluto moves into Aquarius. And Aquarius is the sign of revolution. And Aquarius is a really huge energy that is coming in. Capricorn is where we've been. We're now going into more of an Aquarian energy. Now, I do want to talk about Mars as well. We had this incident happen in the Capitol on Wednesday. And it happened when Mars was at 29 degrees of Aries. It's called the anaretic degree. It's the last degree in the sign. And Mars has been in Aries for 6 months. Mars is the warrior. Mars, it takes action. Mars teaches us self-assertion that can turn into aggression and violence. And so for the last 6 months, and Aries is the sign Mars rules, and it's a very volatile kind of an energy. And this energy, and it brings up anger, all the places where we're holding anger. And it's a catalyst for action. And so at 29 degrees, whenever any planet is at 29 degrees, it's kind of like the last degree, and it often, there's 2 meanings. One says that it's the last degree, it's time to get it right. And the second degree is there's one last hard teaching that it wants to teach us. And so I just want to read something that really resonated with me about what happened on Wednesday. And anyway, it's from an article that I read from I think it was the Consortium News. And it said, what this event did is send a message which went beyond claims of a stolen election, a message that no one in Congress or the media will openly acknowledge, if they've gotten a message at all, namely that as long as Congress and the rest of the establishment continue to ignore ordinary Americans' interest and serve only their own, the anger and the desperation in the land will explode, rendering Wednesday's events merely a dress rehearsal for what may well turn into a full-blown insurrection. Congress must understand this before it is too late. And I just want to add my own here is, I do not condone what happened on Wednesday, and yet I recognize it is an explosion of anger over the theft. We've been, over the theft of our economy. And people are angry, people are scared, people are upset. And quite honestly, Trump came into power riding in on this anger. It was actually here before he came in. Those that this Pluto message is asking us where we have given away our power. It's time to claim it back. It's Aquarius is about we the people, and the people reclaiming their own power. And and what I want to say too is the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was in the French Revolution, when there was great inequities. And there are some correlations right now, and certainly that is not the direction I want to see us go, and that's not where I'm focusing my energy. And yet I just want to make people aware that this is in the field. And and I feel like Aquarius is a time for the people to wake up. It is an awakening. It's a huge potential for awakening. And I feel like when the people awaken, we will no longer be manipulated by fear, and the divide and conquer propaganda will no longer work, which is what is going on. You know, the truth is, it is those in the hierarchical positions that are the culprits, not each other. Their goal is to turn us against each other so we cannot unite. And it's so important to just simply remember that and to not buy into that. And the media has a huge role in this. You know, in 2020 and in 2021, we have the nodes of the moon in Gemini and Sagittarius, which is all about the dissemination of information and our beliefs. Sagittarius is the south node, and it is about really the south node. The nodes of the moon are points of destiny, and the south node is what we are releasing. The north node is what we are, is the soul's intention. It's where we're headed. And the south node can also bring gifts from the past. So it's both, but it's really asking us to look at what needs to go. And in Sagittarius, it is about our beliefs. And you know, there is something called cognitive dissonance, as when information comes up and it does not align with our beliefs, that we cannot accept it. And so the North Node is asking us to open our minds, to use critical thinking, ask those hard questions. You know, just because something doesn't align with our beliefs does not mean it is not true. And Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, but also that place of unconditional love where we are all connected, is in a square to the nodes of the moon. And so when Neptune is involved, it tells us, one, all is not as it seems. You know, and that to find the truth, you have to dig deeper. It's not the low-hanging fruit of what's actually just lying there in front of us. And we know there's tremendous censorship happening in the media, on the internet, and that the mainstream corporate media has become the voice of the government. It's no longer about journalists really doing work. They're just repeating what they're being fed in so many instances. You have to really seek out the truth. And so the role of the media in the misinformation campaign, the mainstream media in the misinformation campaign cannot be overemphasized, and that it is very much about following the truth and following your own inner guidance. You know, our hearts know the truth. But it's just important to really question our beliefs. All right. And so something I've been saying all last year, which I think is still significant, is, do we believe what we see or see what we believe? And we're really in the analogy of the butterfly, you know, in the cocoon. You know, when the caterpillar is in the cocoon, everything is breaking down, and I can't remember the word for it, but it all becomes like a massive gel, like a goo, and you can't. And the caterpillar does not know it's going to become a butterfly. At least it's in the dark about it. You know, we don't know the mind of a butterfly, but it is still that analogy that we will soon become butterflies and be released. But we are in the throes of collapse, and the collapse of a paradigm so that a new one can be created. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Mars, because Mars has been in Aries, but moved into Taurus on March 6th. And Mars in Taurus, you know, is very determined, stubborn, sensual, fights for what has value. Taurus is slow to burn, but can become a raging bull. And Mars is very active all through January. January is still a very turbulent month. I don't think this, you know, is going away, at least through January. And Mars is coming into a conjunction with the planet Uranus. And with Uranus, anything can happen. I feel like this is a time about holding your seat and do not be reactive. You know, there are things that are breaking down, and it is in the chaos where the new is born. And the thing is to stay out of, as my friend, as a friend uses, to stay out of the muck. Okay. And we definitely don't want to contribute to the muck. This is the increased chaos is part of the collapse, and we just and also I want to say too that um, we may see some violent weather patterns and the disruption of the status quo. You know, Mars is coming into a square with Saturn right now, and Saturn is very much about the status quo. And I feel like what happened on Wednesday was some misdirected anger about what the president was saying. But the truth of it is, the real anger is towards Congress. They went right to the place where it needed to go, because it is Congress that has been, like I said, robbing us and not being honest with us. They've been lying to us for a long time. And so anyway, I want to move on to more pleasant things, because there is really new energy flooding in. As the old is collapsing, the new energy is flooding in. And it started with a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Well, actually, the energy's been here for a while, but it has really grown significantly with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which are the two largest planets in our solar system. They come together every 20 years, and they have been meeting in Earth signs for the last 200 years. They're now in air signs, which is and Earth signs are very practical, very materialistic, very outcome oriented, whereas air signs are very visionary, imaginative, and very much about connection with others. So there's going to be a real shift towards that. It's called the spirit or the zeitgeist of the age. This actually happened, like I said, in 2020, but I feel like it is the launching pad for 2021. This energy, it just got really, it was kind of like liftoff. And this conjunction happened at 0 degrees Aquarius, which they're calling the Aquarius pivot point. And it was conjunct the fixed star Altair, which is, Altair is the brightest star in Aquila the Eagle. And as we know, eagle, when we say, and it's actually, it looks like it's the eye of the eagle. And when we call someone eagle eye, we know that they can see far, they can see the whole picture. And, we're here on the ground and we just see this little piece. We're being asked to open up and expand our view and see the whole picture and how things come together. As I said, we do not live in a random universe. We live, this is God too. This is everything is divine, and there is a bigger picture. So we're being asked to open up and try to see it and to put the things together. In astrology, Altair means boldness. Anything time it touches a planet, it means there is a bold new vision wanting to come. Many indigenous people believe that eagle is the bird that travels closest to the sun and to creator and brings messages back from creator. So there is a big message coming with this, to pay attention, that we are in important times. And Jupiter, Zeus, in Greco-Roman mythology, and Jupiter is actually conjunct this star right now, was the king of the gods. And it was believed that Zeus / Jupiter, they have the same being, would shapeshift into an eagle. And so when an eagle was seen, it was an omen of good fortune. And good fortune is coming our way, but it has to do with our ability to awaken. So I just want to share a few things about the age of Aquarius, because that's where we're leaping. The different ages last around 2,000 years, and we have been in the age of Pisces. But we are leaping into the age of Aquarius, although we still have one foot in the age of Pisces, as we're discovering that, time itself is actually a mental construct. They have been saying, well, this has always been believed that it takes about 200 years to go from one age to another. But I believe we are moving into the age of Aquarius much more quickly because we need to. We need to align ourselves with the Mother Earth, and Mother Earth shifting into higher dimensions. And in December 21st, 2012, we moved, well, first I just want to say this. Our whole solar system, we are we're moving all the time. We're not just static. And our solar system has moved closer to the center of the Milky Way and into what is called the Pleiades photon belt. And apparently we move here every 13,000 years. And it is a higher vibrational field, and it is an age of light. It says, what I have been understanding about it, it brings 2,000 years of an age of light. And so we are moving into this field of love, into this 5D vibration. And there is light pouring in to expose to what has been hidden. Because what this is about is the elevation of human consciousness with the potential for mass awakening and aligning our energy with Mother Earth. And the other thing Aquarius brings in is a time of unity. And I want to say this, in the age of Pisces, we had a world savior come in. It was the time of Christianity and of leaders coming in to lead us, where all the energy is focused on one person, or a hierarchical system. Whereas in Aquarius, there are no saviors coming. This is about the power of the people as we awaken and recognize that we are creators, that we have the power to create the world we want, rather than the one we're living in. But we can't give our power away to those that will abuse it, as we have been doing. And that's one of the big teachings. Awakening to the power within themselves. The age of Aquarius is about the power of groups working together. We're called the new group of world servers. So it's about collaboration, working together, cooperation. And as I said, it's about unanimity and versus uniformity. It's about unity. And there's two ways unity can, well, there's more than two, but these two are very significant ways unity can express itself. One is unanimity, where it is about people being unified, working toward the same goal, but each having their own unique expression in the outer world. And whereas uniformity is about we all have to be the same, look the same, think the same, and if we don't, then we're excluded. The age of Aquarius is about inclusion, not exclusion, and honoring everyone's gifts. It is about moving from Newtonian physics as consensus reality to quantum physics as the consensual reality, remembering that we are the field and we are creating all the time. It is about a revolution in consciousness. And like I said, it is about working together. But to have a conscious we, to have a conscious group, we have to have a conscious me. So it is about doing our own consciousness work so that we bring that to the table when we're working with each other. Because if it can devolve into herd mentality or even mob mentality, which reverts to the lowest common denominator, which is fear. And we, in this quantum field, we can always choose love over fear. That is really one of the basic teachings of consciousness work. And so how we do that and come together to create something new. Aquarius is about thinking for oneself, questioning authority, Prometheus is one of the Aquarian archetypes, and Aquarius and Prometheus stole fire from the gods to bring light to the people, so they would no longer be dependent upon the gods, that they could think for themselves, and they would have light. And the gods were not happy with Prometheus, and he was punished severely. And that is the way it is with Aquarius energy, is that when those who think for themselves are often punished by those who do not not like people thinking for themselves, but those who think for themselves encourage others to do the same. And so it's important to remember that. And questioning authority. Aquarius very much questions authority and the official story, with the understanding, the power lies with the people, not with those in power, not with those who actually hold the power at this point. Aquarius is about the re-emergence of esoteric wisdom and divine revelation. It is about the opening and activation of the planetary heart chakra, aligning mind and heart. Aquarius is an air sign, so it is mental. But there is a form of astrology called esoteric astrology, which is a very spiritual astrology and is some channeled work by a group called the Theosophists. And back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, when they're still around, I mean, it's still a big group. And they study the work. He's called a master, the Tibetan. And one of the teachings here is that in esoteric astrology, Aquarius, Jupiter and Aquarius rule the heart chakra. And so this is about an opening of the heart chakra and aligning the mind and heart. And remembering that intuition is actually the highest form of intelligence, because it's a synthesis of everything that we are taking in, our intellect, our senses, our subtle body, all different ways information is coming in, and a synthesis of that. And it's very much about connected to the heart, because the heart is the lifeline to our higher self, to our divine self. That is the direct connection. Okay. And Aquarius is also the energy that helps us remember our place in the cosmos, and that we are part of a cosmic collective. And the star nations are coming in such a big way now to help us make this shift. Now, and it's also a time of innovation and creative ideas. Aquarius sees into the future, and there's many ideas whose time is ripe, that they are coming into being now. Now, there is a really big shadow with Aquarius. Well, there's actually two. One is to disconnect from the heart and to live only in the head, and to not, but the other is our big, it is our relationship with technology. Technology is not good or evil within itself. It is how we use it. It is a tool that we can use to help elevate our own consciousness, to elevate mass consciousness. We've seen its use in medicine and science, and in so many ways it can be helpful. But when technology gets ahead of our humanity, we are in trouble. And the shadow is about losing our humanity, mainly due to our relationship with technology. Now, there is a big Atlantis connection with Aquarius. It is believed that Atlantis is a civilization that came into being in the last age of Aquarius, around 26,000 years ago. And during that time, and Atlantis was in existence for many thousands of years, but it had 3 catastrophic events, for those who have the ability to remember. And when they talk about Atlantis misuse of technology as being one of the big catastrophic events where they lost their humanity. And I feel like it's coming back around again. And we have the potential to align technology with the original plan, because technology is a gift from Creator, but it is a gift that we have to have a certain level of consciousness to use well. And I want to tell a really interesting story. I just recently read an article about some children in Rwanda who back in 1994 were out on their playground, and some spaceships came in, and there was about 30 children, and beings came down out of the spaceships and communicated telepathically with the children. And from what I understand, apparently each child was interviewed separately, and each child drew a similar picture of the beings, of the star beings, and of the spaceship, and shared a similar message. And the message was twofold. One is that we are mistreating Mother Earth, and of course we know that. The second message was about our misuse of technology. And I want to say, of course, we know the potential to blow our planet up with our weapons is always, just like right there. But, there's another misuse of technology that is coming in that is very much about a place where we could lose our humanity. And one is about the digitalization of humanity, microchips being placed in our bodies. And this is happening in India and Africa. And in these places, these microchips, what they're doing is it has all of the records, like financial records, health records, personal information, employment records. And there's also the ability to be tracked and traced for surveillance. It's all there. And this is happening. And what I read was that it was voluntary in India. And of course, what does voluntary mean? There can be coercion. But in Africa, all of the poor are being forced to do this. And I can't remember the name of the country. I wish I could. It might be Ghana, but I don't remember exactly. And the other piece is about artificial intelligence. Having technology really enter our bodies to make us superhumans. I just read an article, and this was on CNN by a Google executive, Ray Criswell or something like that. Anyway, he said that we will all become transhuman hybrids by the year 2030. And I know I spoke to my son who's in his 40s, and he says that he knows he has friends that want to do this because they feel like it will give them an edge in the business world, in the athletic world, that to become a superhuman. And, this can take us down a very dark path. Okay. We're going into Pluto, into Aquarius, like I said, in 3 months in 2023, and then for a time, I'm not sure how long, 15 to 20 years, starting in 2024. So I feel like as we are moving into this age of Aquarius, we're going to confront the shadow just right off the bat and make it, and our choices will determine the path humanity takes. The awakening is only a potential. It's a strong possibility, and I absolutely believe in it. But, if we choose mechanization, if we choose to use technology over our own consciousness work, it can take us down a very dark path. Okay. All right. Now, what's actually happening is we have Jupiter in Aquarius all year, except from May 13th to the 28th, where it's in Pisces. And Jupiter, as I said, is the largest planet in the solar system. It's visionary. It brings in the big picture. It's about faith, blessings. It's called the guardian angel of the zodiac, but Jupiter's always somewhere. And for the next year, it's going to be in Aquarius. And so those of you who have Aquarius suns or several planets in Aquarius, it will bring blessings. Jupiter, but it's going to bring blessings to all of us. And what it's going to do is allow us to access big ideas that at other times may have seemed too daunting. Jupiter helps us believe in ourselves, and we can see the big picture and put the pieces together. It is about optimism for the future, an expansive view. Jupiter's very on that second ray of love and wisdom, an open-hearted love of humanity and community. All right. We're also going to have Saturn in Aquarius. for the next 2.5 years. But next year in 2021, Saturn is going to be at 1 degree to 13 degrees of Aquarius. I'm going to say it's actually more like 2 years, because it's already been in Aquarius a half a year in 2020, or at least a few months. And so Saturn brings in personal authority, maturity, character building, discipline, responsibility, rules, hierarchies, control, limitations, separation, and fear. Okay. But it also brings in manifestation. Saturn is one of the planets that brings things into form. Without Saturn, everything is a dream. So I feel like this Saturn Jupiter traveling together in Aquarius is about the manifestation of the Aquarian dream, that we can really bring it into form. Saturn in Aquarius is about personal responsibility, and in Aquarius it is about being true to oneself. That is always the teaching of Aquarius. It's about to thine own self be true, to know thyself and to thine own self be true. It's about the responsibility to do one's own consciousness work. As I said, to have a conscious we have to have a conscious me. And consciousness work is very much related to love. It is about choosing love over fear, because Saturn brings in fear. But when we are strong in our own personal authority, we can choose love. It's a conscious decision. Saturn in Aquarius is about working together to create change, social responsibility, building new structures and networks, collaboration, and grassroots movements. But I'm going to say it's hard to build grassroots movements when we do not have the right of assembly. Saturn in Aquarius is also, on the shadow side, is about this social distancing, where it creates separation and fear of each other. And so Saturn is the rule maker. And in Capricorn, it's very much about follow the rules. The rules are what matter. In Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius is about do the rules, serve the people. The Nuremberg trials showed us that people are still accountable, no matter what the rules are. And it is about following our own conscience. And so we have Saturn, the rule maker, lined up in Aquarius, the rule breaker. And so it's like we don't all have to follow the rules, unless it serves the people. And I do want to point out that there's a Saturn-Uranus square happening right now. I'm going to talk about that next. But I have been reading about young people in Israel who are refusing to participate in the military. And this is what it's going to take: people making courageous choices to do what is right instead of following the rules. Okay? Because the rules have been made, they're not always made to serve the people. They're made to serve the powerful. Okay. Now that doesn't mean it's about following our own conscience. We know right from wrong. Okay. And it's about uniformity is another shadow side of Saturn. Herd mentality, everyone having to think and believe the same thing. Whereas Aquarius asks us to question authority and to think for ourselves. Saturn in Aquarius can bring in technocracy and bureaucratic control. Now, the Saturn and Jupiter traveling in Aquarius is the underlying theme of 2021. And from January through March, we've got 3 to 6 planets in Aquarius at all times. So it's a very big energy. The planet that rules Aquarius is Uranus. And Uranus is in Taurus, and it has been there for a few years. It is traveling through 6 to 14 degrees in 2021. And Uranus shakes things up, shakes us out of our comfort zone. It's the maverick. It brings, as they say, expect the unexpected. It brings change. Wherever we're stuck was where Uranus shows up. But it's also the divine mind. And it's about consciousness and downloads and intuition. And so I feel like, as with Uranus and Taurus, it is about really connecting to the consciousness of Mother Earth. She is one of our guides right now. She is trying to help us align our consciousness with hers. And so what we're going to be seeing is, and Uranus and Taurus is, there's, well, I'm going to it's actually the Uranus-Taurus square Uranus-Saturn square that I see coming up, that I think is so significant. But I feel like there is absolutely the potential for more people returning to a local economy, to the earth. There's so much about returning to Mother Earth and listening to her wisdom and following her wisdom. A return to nature with organic farming. Taurus teaches us about staying calm, staying in the present moment. And, you know, we're in this great pause right now, which is allowing us to recognize what is collapsing, and so that we can start to build the new. Uranus and Taurus is teaching us that necessity is the mother of invention, you know, as everything is changing. And Taurus rules the economy as well. You know, Pluto is transiting through the second house of the economy of the United States, but the whole earth is getting the Uranus and Taurus transit. And Taurus is about the economy, and it is shaking up the economy, and there are changes coming. And there's ideas whose time is ripe, okay? But Taurus, Uranus and Taurus shakes us all out of our comfort zone, because when we're comfortable, we don't make changes. We just keep everything as it is. And so the major aspect that is happening in 2021 is a Uranus-Saturn square. And a square is a challenge. It's a 90-degree angle, and it's kind of compulsive. It's like something you can't put down until you get it right. And Saturn is about structure, and Uranus is about freedom and change. So it is about changing our structures. It's the integration of freedom and change into the structures that we have created. And Saturn is about bringing things into form. So I feel like this is a year where we're, and actually this square continues in 2022. About 6 months of 2022, we're going to see it as well. This is a time where ideas whose time is ripe can come into form. We're being challenged to bring them into form, because they need to be in form. They need to come in. In our personal lives, we may resist change and or want to control how change looks, but you know, that's just not how it is. So it's like, you know, have a plan, but absolutely be willing to flow with the energy and change that plan. I also see, you know, Saturn represents the status quo, and Uranus represents uprisings and disruption. I feel like uprisings and disruption against the status quo is going to really happen. The status quo is going to get really shook up. The dissent and resistance is alive and well. All the while, personal freedoms are being restricted. It's going to really activate the shakeups. Okay. And also, what is not moral or ethical in technology is going to come up for discussion, because Saturn is about morality. Okay. And Uranus rules Aquarius, and they both have to do with technology. Neptune continues to transit in Pisces, bringing in unconditional love. We are all one. Magic and fantasy, illusion and delusion. Neptune places a fog around the truth so that we can learn to follow our inner guidance and trust our own intuition. And Neptune brings in that potential that is always to believe, makes it easier to believe what we want to believe, okay? It can take us into the land of fairy, where we're living in some fairy world, okay? All right. Now, Mercury, of course, is retrograde, has its retrograde cycles. Mercury is retrograde 3 times every year, every 3 months. So this year, Mercury is retrograde in air signs completely. You know, as Saturn and Jupiter are moving into air signs, we're moving into the age of Aquarius, which is an air sign. It's really learning how to work with our thoughts, and you know, because our thoughts create. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about the quantum field as I close, because this is really what this is about. But anyway, Aquarius, let's see, Mercury goes retrograde on January 20th to February 20th, at Aquarius 26, which is a very visionary time. Um, and I should say all Mercury retrogrades are time to finish projects, to rethink decisions, to edit. It's a time of reevaluation, reassessment, rethinking. It's not a time to start anything new. Okay. All right. Mercury goes retrograde again on May 29th to June 22nd. Gemini 24. Gemini is very much about communication and writing. If you're a writer, this is absolutely a time to edit. You go back on anything you haven't finished and edit it and make it perfect so that you can put it out. And Mercury is retrograde in September 26th to October 18th at Libra, 25 degrees. And Libra is all about relationships, really rethinking, reevaluating our relationships and our communication skills. You know, what we're saying, how we're handling things. Now, Venus goes retrograde on December 19th at Capricorn 26. And Venus is always about Venus retrograde is about reevaluating our relationships, intimate and friendships. You know, if we're in a relationship, you know, our relationship might go through a period of really looking at what do I want in this relationship, renegotiating our relationship. And if we're not in a relationship, what may come up is what we want in our friendships and our lovers. You know, that we have changed and what we want have changed, and time to really reevaluate that. And when Venus goes direct, we can set an intention for that kind of a relationship that we have reevaluated. And in Capricorn, we're also about business relationships. Okay. We have our usual, this year we've got 2 lunar eclipses and 2 solar eclipses in Sagittarius and Gemini. I'm not going to go too deeply into those right now because I do want to talk about the one last thing having to do with the shift that is happening, which is the quantum leap, is the quantum leap into the Aquarius age of Aquarius, and working in the quantum field. And I just want to say one thing. When I first started looking at this 2021 forecast, what I saw was the image that immediately came was the Wizard of Oz. And how when, you know, Dorothy pulled the curtain back, what she saw, she thought there was this all-powerful being there, and it was just this old guy. And that's what it's about. It's about pulling the veil back. And what he said to Dorothy, I think, was the most important thing. He said, "You have had the power all along, my dear." And I feel like that's the age of Aquarius, is remembering that. We may have given away our power to those that we think would serve us, but they don't. And the age of Aquarius is reminding us that we have the power, and especially when we work together. But it is ultimately about remembering how to create in the quantum field, because this is where we are going. That we are unconsciously creating all the time. So it's time to either learn or remember how to be the creators that we were born to be. And it is true that we do not create everything in our outer world, because that is a product of our collective unconscious. But our response to what is happening in the outer world does create our reality, and we choose our response. And we can choose love or fear at every moment. Okay. But the quantum field, we are the quantum field. We're not in it. We are it. And every word, action, emotion, feeling changes the field, impacts the field. And where we focus our energy is what we create. You know, as they say, you know, worry is a prayer to create something you don't really want. And I know I find myself spinning out sometimes, you know, worrying about this, that, or the other thing. And I just have to pull myself back in and realize that that's what I'm creating. What I'm thinking about is what I'm creating. Thoughts create. They are thought forms. And one of the ways that helps me the most to come back in is the attitude of gratitude. When I can start remembering my blessings, it can change everything. And to remember that words are magic. They are vibration. When we speak words, we're putting that vibration out there. So to be careful what words we use and how we phrase our sentences. Like I went to a friend of mine's a few days ago, and it's a friend that I have gotten lost before coming back. And I started to say, I'm setting an intention to not get lost. And I realized that was not the correct way to set my intention, to say that I will have a direct route home. And that's what happened. So, it's just knowing, it's just remembering how to use our words. And another key, and I've talked about it before, and like I said, the Star Nation is coming. That I have a friend, the Star Nation has been visiting her and her clan. And one of their teachings is for us to stay out of the muck, out of the field of fear that is so pervasive right now. It is so important to keep our vibration high, because actually when we keep our vibration high, we lift the vibration of everyone and everything. So it's about being aware of our thoughts, our words, the music we listen to, the company we keep, the food we eat, okay, our atmosphere. And we're going to know that we are in this higher vibrational field when things start manifesting more quickly. They will. So if something happens in your life, start, and let's just say it's not what you want, start thinking about what have I been thinking about? What have I been focusing on? Pull your thoughts back in, and you can shift that perception. This is the teaching of what is happening now, and that we are in a field of infinite possibility. Just because something did not happen in the past does not mean it cannot happen now. We are suspending all disbelief. That is another piece of this South Node. It's releasing those beliefs that are self-limiting. To understand we are in a field of all possibility, and we can create a new world, and we are. We can choose love over fear in every moment, and it is a conscious decision that takes courage and boldness. In the quantum field, we are creating a new earth, a new world. The elders say we are dreaming our world into being, but we've been dreaming the wrong dream, and we can change that. And we have all chosen to be here at this time to bring this new earth in, this new energy in, this new light in. And 2021 is a year of a bold new vision for Mother Earth and the future of humanity. It just takes courage to remember who we are, and that we are the creators of our own reality. So this is what I see for 2021. I wish you all the best. To remember that we are living in this field of paradox. The muck is there, but we don't have to go there. We don't have to participate in it, and we don't have to add to it. That our job is to keep the vibration high and to create a new world. All right, so if you like this video, please join my subscription, and you can reach me at Sybil. SybilStar.com is my website, and you can reach me at Sybil@SybilStar.com. All right, wishing you all a wonderful 2021.